Hello people, it's DJ Mac. Welcome you to my very first ever top 10 list. Now, I've been thinking to myself, I want to do more than just games on my channel. I want to do a top 10. But what type of a top 10? There's top 10s for everything. Well, I thought to myself, I like weapons in video games. But there's so many done. You see so many great characters wielding so many great weapons. Swords, bows, staffs, wands, even musical instruments. But there's one iconic weapon that doesn't seem to get that much notice half the time. Originally, the scythe was designed to harvest crops and tall grass, but this real-world object has become the weapon of choice of the Reaper himself. Quick disclaimer, this is my top 10, so what's on this list is my personal choice. There are characters on this that aren't from video game originally, but they do have games and I have played them. So, this is my top 10, so let's get this started with number 10.
Buenos dias.
Manny from Grim Fandango. Now, Manny is a travel agent for a Department of the Death. Basically, he helps get people to the other side of their journey, another side to the afterlife, if you will. And Manny really is a quite interesting character. He brings a personal swab of being a Grim Reaper. Not to mention his scythe is collapsible like a fold-out chair. In my personal opinion, that's pretty cool. It makes his scythe seem more classy and him more of a suave type of person, especially when he's in his tux. He's a very interesting character, and I do enjoy his role in the Grim Fandango. The reason why Manny is part of the Department of the Dead is because he has to pay off a loan. Don't know what it was, and he pretty much hates his job. I would too if I was stuck in a dead-end job.
Oh, I'll be leaving here soon enough. No thanks to dead and no commission low-life cases like yours, menso.
Number 9. I'm a huge fan of the Persona series. I love every Persona game there is. I've tried a few of the Shin Megami Tensei games as well. They're okay, not my cup of tea, but there was a company that did decide, hey, this Persona thing, we can make it better, but we need to make it something a bit different. That would be Mind Zero. And the main protagonist in Mind Zero, Kei Takanashi, uses the very weapon we're talking about in this top 10, a scythe. Now this is an RPG of all things. So yeah, it gets a bit, what's the word I'm looking for, grindy at times, and it's an old school dungeon crawler nonetheless, so yeah. However, it is Persona-like. What do I mean when I say it's Persona-like? Well, it stars a group of high schoolers. It's a JRPG, what do you expect? And they discover unique powers known as minds, basically this world's personas. Kei gets himself stuck in a weird shop, owned by a woman called the Undertaker. Now, the only way to leave the shop is simply choose a weapon. She pretty much says to Kei, you must choose a weapon in order to leave the shop. So, Kei goes wandering around a bit until he stumbles upon a scythe. He even quotes that it looks something that the Grim Reaper would wield. And when he touches the scythe, his mind appears, and by God is it epic. The mind he gets is basically a hot woman, but she has scythes for hands. I mean, what more can you ask for than that? Seriously, I love Persona, and if I were to have a Persona, it'd be Kei's mind. Okay, that sounded weird, but you get the premise of what I'm saying. Number 8. In the number 8 spot, we have Ruby Rose from RWBY Grim Eclipse. Now, Ruby, I'm just saying this right now, she was one of the first characters I saw with a scythe, and she pretty much just made me fall in love with the damn thing. Like, Ruby's scythe, Crescent Rose, is not just a scythe, but... oh, who am I kidding? Ruby, tell the crowd what it is.
It's also a customizable, high-impact sniper rifle.
A what?
It's also a gun.
I love that bit so much. But yeah, because it's a high-impact sniper rifle, it also comes with range abilities as well as being a melee type of weapon. However, Ruby uses it in a more unique way. A gun of that much power should have a lot of recoil, and by God does she use that recoil effectively. She can literally ricochet herself off of places just by the gun's recoil alone. And it probably doesn't help any of her enemies as she also has a speed-based semblance. Don't know what semblant is? Basically, it's a unique power that belongs to a unique individual of the RWBY world. Some have super speed, others have incredible strength, And a few unlucky ones have, well, pretty much become human bad luck charms. I'm looking at you, Crow. But in the animated series, we see RWBY use that to their full advantage. Like, if you look at the Red trailer alone, she cuts through Grimm like they're butter. In Grimm Eclipse, on the other hand, she does use it effectively, but... well, it's a Dynasty Warriors-like game, so it's more of just mash, mash, mash. I've always thought RWBY would translate more better into, I don't know, a fighting game. I'm not saying Grimm Eclipse is a bad game. If anything, I put more hours into it on my Steam besides Undertale. But it's definitely a good first game, but I would say RWBY and her cast of friends would be more suited in, say, a fighting game. Not a 2D brawler like Street Fighter, more on the lines of a 3D fighter, something like Xenoverse or Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm type of stuff. Speaking of Ultimate Ninja Storm, segue into number 7! Number 7! Hidan from Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm. Now, Hidan is an interesting character. For one, his scythe has 3 blades on it. 3! Now that's kind of overkill. Plus, it has an extendable reach on it, having a bomb that pretty much froze and comes back to him, just like a fishing rod, if you will. However, it's his masochistic killing spree that he has going for him. Like, the man revels in killing. He's even part of a religion about killing. So much so that when he activates his ultimate jutsu, a curse mark, in a voodoo-like substance, basically he needs a blood sample of the person, he licks it, then inflicts bodily harm on himself, thereby killing his opponent. I'm sorry, but this guy's got the definition of a overkiller on his side. Not to mention, he kind of looks like a Reaper when he turns into the curse mark form. The only issue I have with him is that, well, he doesn't use his scythe in his ultimate. Basically, he uses a metal pole to stab himself, but that's probably down to him being immortal, and every time he gets himself cut, he can't grow it back. Basically, if it cuts off, it ain't coming back, but he's immortal, so it's pretty much permanently. So you chop off his head, he's permanently out of the game. I would say he's the most ridiculous Naruto character out there, and probably one of the reasons why he never came back in the whole Shinobi War was pretty much because he wasn't dead. I'm still wondering why they never brought him back, but maybe because they just forgot about him or he wasn't that loved. But Hidan, in my personal opinion, is one crazy Scythe Wielder, and I like to use him every now and then in Ultimate Ninja Storm. Just like, I usually just have my personal picks. It's usually Sasuke or Hidan or even Toby. Number 6. In number 6, we have Prometheus out of Megaman ZX and ZX Advance. Prometheus is what you call, well, a brooding type of character, but he loves what he does. And he revels in killing people. Prometheus, you're probably thinking to yourself, who is Prometheus? Well, he's a small antagonist out of the Megaman ZX franchise. ZX being the sequel to Megaman Zero, and that being the sequel to Megaman X. And X being the whole... like, there's a whole timeline that connects the original Megaman all the way up to X, all the way up to Zero, and then into the ZX era. There's an actual timeline that actually connects all of them. But yes, Prometheus is an interesting character because, well, he uses a scythe like every weapon we've been talking about right now. His, on the other hand, is a beam scythe. He's basically a lightsaber scythe. That's epic. And he's not just a robot master. No, he's not a robot master. He's not a Maverick. He is a Mega Man. What do I mean by this? He was custom made to be a Mega Man. Just like his sister Pandora, they were both merged with a special type of alloy known as biometal. There are various biometals in the Mega Man ZX universe. And every character from the ZX universe has one. Mega Man that you play as is got both Biometal Model X and Biometal Model Z, modeled after X and Z themselves. So you're wondering, what biometal was he merged with? Biometal W. Basically, it's biometal made of a villain from the Megaman Zero. I've forgotten the name of the character, but yes, it is one of the most corrupted things in the Megaman ZX universe. It probably doesn't help that both Pandora and Prometheus were both tortured as young children, thereby being forced to wear the biometal and become killers. I truly do feel sorry for this character because he had his childhood torn from him. Not to mention, he is that notorious amongst all the hunter guilds in the ZX universe that he's been named the Reaper. Now that is badass in my personal opinion. If you're named the Reaper in any game, you pretty much know you're gonna bring the house down with death. But yep, Prometheus wins number 6 in my personal opinion. You know, I grew up in the 90s, all that good stuff, and there's one thing I always enjoyed, Pokemon. Now nowadays you get lots of good bug types. You get Leavanny, you get Young Mega, all that stuff. However, back in Gen 1 we didn't have that much of an option. We had butterflies, we had bees, but we had one Pokemon in particular that was one hell of a sweeper, Scyther. This Pokemon literally has scythes for its hands. I would not recommend hugging it, but my god, it was the most badass Pokemon ever. Back when I was a child, this was my 3rd favorite. First being Charizard, second being Raichu, and this being my 3rd one. And honestly, you can't say anything, but it looks so badass with those scythes for hands. It's so deadly. Actually, here's a Pokédex entry of it from its red and blue entry. With ninja-like ability and speed, it can create the illusion that there are more than one of it. It's basically a ninja Pokemon, the first ninja Pokemon there ever was. If Ryo Hayabusa had a Pokemon, it'd possibly be a ninja. But he would also have a freaking Scyther. This thing is beasting. I do love its evolution of Scizor, but come on, look at it. It's basically the Pokemon equivalent of the Grim Reaper. It cuts, it slices, dices. This thing was made for the THM cut, or is it TM? Forgot now. They've gotten rid of all the TMs now. Oh, RIP TMs. But yeah, this Pokemon definitely is one to have on any team. Number 4.
The terror of death! It's Haseo, the PKK!
Now we're getting to the good stuff here. Haseo from DotHack. Now this right here, this is one of my favorite anime slash games slash mangas. The DotHack series has spanned through all of these, and by far is one of the one game series slash manga slash anime that I have been so grossly attached to since I was such a young lad. And DotHack GU, well, we get one of the most badass Scythe Wielders. Here's how badass Haseo is. Haseo doesn't have one weapon, he has 3 weapons. He has 2 daggers, he has a giant sword that can make clouds look like a freaking baby blade, and his scythe. What do all 3 of these weapons have in common? They're all chainsaws. He can tear through his opponents. RWBY may have a sniper rifle as her gun, but Haseo has a chainsaw as his sword, scythes, and blades. I'm sorry, but that's just a bit overkill, and I love it. Just everything he does with these weapons, he does so well, and his iconic weapon is his scythe. However, he doesn't get it until the 2nd game, which I always found annoying, but it's okay. DotHack GU Volume 2. But he does have one other thing that uses a scythe. His avatar. His avatar is basically a persona-like creature that corresponds with the character model he's with. Basically, it's the person who plays the character in the game of DotHack matches up with the personality. They gain an avatar, and by far Haseo's has got one of the most badass looking ones ever. It uses a scythe as well. Similar, it uses a beam scythe, just like how Prometheus did. But this thing is literally some sort of cyberactic Grim Reaper. Everything about it screams, it will reap your soul, and I love it. Number 3!
you know this song?
Nope.
How tragic. Then let me teach you.
Margaret Moonlight from No More Heroes 2. Now, it's been discussed. Margaret is the Reaper, and she's the number 4 ranked assassin in the No More Heroes franchise. And she is just one of the best types of characters you want. She just sings her little song, Reaper, Reaper. That's what they call her. And it's by far one of the most catchiest songs ever. She also wields 2 scythes, just like Scyther, but hers come with a little gift. There are also rifles, sniper rifles, and I feel like we just had this not that long ago. A little red-capped girl. But yeah, Margaret is by far one of the funnier bosses in No More Heroes. Her theme song alone gets me jamming every time. Having 2 sides that are both guns, that's just double more fun. And that's why I think she's this high on the list. Plus, she's the 4th ranked assassin, but Margaret, in my personal opinion, you're number 3 for several reasons. And one of them is that theme song. Damn it, girl. I could listen to that all day.
Did you memorize the song?
100%.
That is so sublime.
Number 2. In the number 2 spot, we have the graceful assassin himself, Marluxia, from Kingdom Hearts, Chain of Memory, and Kingdom Hearts 2. Now, Marluxia is an interesting character. He's number 12 of Organization 13. He wields a scythe that's just ridiculous, and he's also the master of pretty pink flowers. Hold the phone. Now, let's look at this real clear. Let's look at this real carefully, real quickly, of every member of Organization 13 so far. Axel conjures fire. Larxene manipulates lightning. Demyx does what Demyx does.
Dance, water, dance!
And Marluxia gets stuck with pretty pink flowers. Those aren't just any pretty pink flowers, though. They're cherry blossoms. And in Japanese culture, the cherry blossom is meant to represent life and death. Marluxia's pretty much got death at his power. That's his power. So yeah, having pretty pink flowers, those pay off. Not to mention he has quite a number of skills in Kingdom Hearts 2, Final Mix. In Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memory, he was okay, but you had to go up against him with a wonky card system. But in Kingdom Hearts 2, oh, does he show off how powerful he is. He curses Zora right from the beginning, so every time Zora gets hit, not Sora's life gets down, the counter on Sora goes down, and when that hits 0, it's game over. So yeah, the number 12 member of Organization 13 is number 2 of my top 10 Scythe Wielders, just because he's my favorite villain out of Kingdom Hearts, and I really, really hope that he comes back in Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm praying for it. The final, the glorious number 1! You know, we've talked a lot about Scythe Wielders, all sorts of iconic wielders of that weapon. But there's one we just haven't gone around to until now. Death. Who else could wield this scythe with more precise, more badassery, and pretty much make it their iconic weapon? And not just any death, but Death from Castlevania is my number 1 choice. Death is very powerful in Castlevania, being Dracula's right-hand man, which in all honesty, I've never really understood. Why would Death be an undead's right-hand man? Pretty sure Conker's Bad Fur Day taught me something different.
Bloody undead. Unbloody dead. I mean, it's even worse than bloody cats. Undead. What's the bloody point?
But yes, Death wields many powers at his disposal in the Castlevania. He can reap your soul. He can summon souls of those he's reaped. He can open the gates of hell and suck you in. And when he gets to swinging with that giant thing, oh honey, you better start running. Not to mention, his scythe can shoot out little scythes, like sickles at you. I don't know what to say. Scyther may have 2 scythes, RWBY may have a sniper scythe, but Death has over 1 million of the little things. And that is why Death is number 1 of my top 10 Scythe Wielders. Well, I hope you all enjoyed my very first ever top 10. I sure as hell enjoyed it. It was one of the more interesting things to do for my channel, and I'm definitely gonna do more of this stuff. Well, I hope you all enjoyed it, and see you in the next one. And as always, to be continued.